Hi everybody, this is Yanni Collins and welcome back to Oz Living, where we bring you some of the biggest cryptocurrency conversations from only the sharpest minds in the space. And now joining me today is Alfred Chia, partner at Mcdermotth, Will and Emery. He has over 2 decades of experience advising on cross-border transactions throughout Asia, Australia, and the Middle East. He focuses his practice on projects, banking and finance, mergers and acquisitions, and blockchain advisory. So Alfred, thank you so much for meeting me today.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you for having me here.
It is such a pleasure. And so, Alfred, can we start with your background and tell us how you became a blockchain lawyer in the first place?
I've been a lawyer for 20 plus years now. I'm really old. So
you don't look like it.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. So blockchain I started in 2017. And that's really because some previous clients of mine got together and wanted to set up a crypto exchange. At that time, it was really new. It was, Binance haven't even come out at that time.
Which crypto project is this?
It was called NCX, the National Currency Exchange of Australia. So it was an Australian project. So they came out, wanted to launch an exchange, looking for legal advisors, and they had trouble finding one because most lawyers were not in touch with the space, or they didn't know how to do it, or didn't want to do it. They didn't want to try out this new area. I, on the other hand, I decided, hey, why not? It's a new area. Other lawyers aren't doing it. It could be a new space to carve out for myself. So I went ahead and did it and helped them set up the exchange, which came up from Australia, and then they expanded regionally after that.
So I'd love to hear your current take on the market with the Fed tightening. I mean, truly tough times for the industry right now, but give us some optimism and paint us a picture of the macroeconomic global economy.
I think crypto, if you look at it from when it first came out, Bitcoin back in the very, very early days, and then last year and then now, there have been many cycles. But after every cycle, you see severe depression, severe downturn, but they always go back up. I held Bitcoin, after the bust in 2018, it went down to about 5,000, then 3, then 2, and it went back up and it overshot. It went up to over 60,000 before the current decline. I think the current market is, you're right, it is pretty bad, especially you look at the number of projects failing, from Do Kwon's Terra, and then it snowballed to Celsius, and then to Three Arrow Capital, and all these big boys falling. That's causing a lot of pain in the market. A lot of retail investors have lost a lot of money, and I think it will be some time again before they're willing to, come up with cash to invest in this sector. But having said that, because I've been through the previous downturns, like, after 18, right, when we had a tremendous ICO market, it was really bullish, and then it all went dry, and then Bitcoin fell below 5,000. Even at that time, there were a lot of people wanting to buy Bitcoin, and a lot of huge whales. And this is not like, we're not talking about a few million or tens of millions. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. People were calling me saying, look, I want to buy $500 million worth of Bitcoin. Can you introduce me to somebody who has, that much supply to sell? So there was a lot of demand. Whenever the market falls, I find that there's always a segment of people out there with a lot of cash who then wants to go into this sector, and thereby, because of so many of these people, very wealthy whales, believing in this sector and putting their money into it, I think there's always going to be a floor. And it's just a matter of time, when the floor is hit, things will slowly rebound. I mean, I still kept all my Bitcoins. I'm not selling. I'm a long-term holder. I mean, that's for Bitcoin. I'm not saying the same for a lot of other projects. For most other projects out there, I believe it's really do your own research. There are a number of, as we all know, there are large number of scammy projects out there. But I believe that there are also founders and entrepreneurs who really want to do something with the space, and there are certain people, not all of them, who I think want to do the right thing and really develop something in this space.
And so the world is experiencing the inflation, which is soaring globally. Do you think that Bitcoin is the hedge against inflation?
You would like to think so, but it hasn't really performed that way in recent times. Bitcoin has been falling while US dollar is rising, interest rate is rising. So it is like behaving a bit like gold, actually. When yields rise, you see gold falling a little bit, and you see Bitcoin falling a bit as well. But I actually don't think like the Bitcoin market is large enough at the moment. The liquidity is large enough, compared to the gold market, for people to use as a real hedge against inflation. I think Bitcoin, it's kind of like a store of value for certain people. I mean, if you look back at a couple of years ago in Saudi Arabia, right? I think the prince took a bunch of his relatives up to a hotel room, and he locked them all up. Basically, he locked them all up in there and said, "Look, you cannot leave until you give me all your money." Something like that. That's what I read from the news. Okay, I don't know whether it's true or not, but that's what I read from the news. So you stay in your hotel room. Okay, it's a nice hotel, so it's not too bad. But you can't leave until you give me all your money. And they have to, right? Whatever they have you have to give it up. But imagine if they have an X% of their assets in Bitcoin, where it's held in an anonymous wallet. Nobody knows you have it.
Exactly, and could be access to any computers in the world.
Exactly.
Go out from Saudi and then access your wealth from a computer.
Exactly. So when you have to give up a portion of your wealth, it's really a portion of your wealth that other people know about. I think Bitcoin is one way to protect your assets. Of course, I'm not saying that you should, do any criminal type activity, but I'm talking about legitimately protecting your wealth that you have earned and paid taxes on. I think that is and should be okay.
Yes, and the invention of digital currencies is where it made it possible for people to die with their wealth with them and take to them with the grave.
It's good and bad. That's good and bad. It also could mean a lot of lost digital currency when your wallet disappears with you. So, which is another reason why I'm kind of bullish on Bitcoin. It's an asset class where the supply is kind of finite because you can only have around 21 million. And there are people losing their wallets every day, right? So there's always some supply being taken off the market.
It's very unfortunate for those people.
Yeah, and if you look about it, I mean, this argument has been said many times. 21 million. There are more than 21 million millionaires in this world. If every one of those millionaires want to have a Bitcoin, well, they can't. They have to fight for it. There just aren't enough to go around.
I have to ask you, since you're a Bitcoin maximalist, what do you think about Ethereum? Like, where is it going and headed from here?
I think amongst like all the other altcoins, amongst the other blockchains that have a lot of transactions going on, I think Ethereum is probably the most popular one. Has been for quite a while. I have some Ether, not a lot. Mainly I use it to transact in order to take advantage of certain projects, to make certain transactions, but I don't hold a lot of it. Because again, it's a supply thing, right? With Ethereum, with Ether, they can mint an unlimited supply. So I'm a bit concerned about that. It's not something I want to park a lot of my wealth in. I very much prefer Bitcoin, but that's just me.
All right, so in terms of VCs, where's the attention going? What kind of industries are they looking at to invest in?
VCs, that's an interesting area. Back in the heyday, the 2017, 2018 boom, I see a lot of projects raising money by selling tokens. Okay, now before the blockchain craze, companies raise money by selling shares, selling debt. And the VCs and private equity, the venture capitalist firms, they are used to that. They are used to buying shares, buying debt. And when they buy shares and when they purchase debt, their professional thinking comes into it, right? Yeah. How do I protect myself? Sometimes they want a board seat. There are lists of decisions that, you founders cannot make without my okay. I will regulate how you spend your money. You can't just spend it anywhere you like. I could put parameters around it. And I want you to give me information. Okay, that's really big in a lot of these deals. They want information. I want your quarterly statements. I could want your monthly cash flow. I want your capital raising plans. I want all of that. And all this serves to protect the investors. Okay, and sometimes you can even negotiate for founders for a clawback to occur if the founders do something wrong. So the founders' assets could be in play as well. Now, when it comes to selling tokens, I'm not sure why, but especially in the early stages, all this seems to have gone out of the window. I mean, I acted mainly for the project, so I wasn't complaining if the buyers weren't asking for any of these protections. It's like, okay, that makes our jobs easier, and from the project's perspective, hey, that's good for you, more power to you. You can spend the money however you want. So I find that when it comes to blockchain, when it comes to buying tokens, the VC seems to take this approach. Hey, here's all my money. Please take my money. And during the boom times, it's actually money-chasing projects. You have projects actually refusing to take money from certain investors because, hey, I have too much. I don't want your money anymore. And then the investors were falling over themselves to have the opportunity to purchase, certain projects' tokens. So I think that resulted in a market whereby the projects could just get away with anything. I sell you tokens to the investor, and the investor just gives you the money and say, hey, you do whatever you want with it. I'm not going to come back to you if anything goes wrong. And that's it. That's really it. That's really how the token money, the money raising works. Things have kind of changed over the years. After the market fell off the cliff at the end of 2018, some VCs have gotten a bit more cautious. So in addition to asking for tokens, they may also take some shares. They start negotiating for some protective provisions. Not all the time, but I see that a bit more now, especially compared to back in 2018.
And there's a lot of excitements going around the NFT, Web3, Metaverse, GameFi, you name it. What are you most bullish about?
NFTs was a real hype, okay? Honestly, I've never purchased a single NFT. I tried creating my own NFT and I tried selling it, but nobody bought one. I'm very sad to say.
What was it about?
It was just pictures of celebrities.
Oh, name one.
Some footballers, some movie stars.
Did you do your marketing?
I didn't. I didn't. That's probably it. So I believe that in order for an NFT project to be successful, you need probably a strong marketing team behind it. You need to create a reason. Why would someone want to own your NFTs? What's so special about it? Is it something that you can show off and all that? Because I actually think the NFT space is a lot like a private membership kind of a business, a kind of a deal. If you look at all these projects, right, the Bored Apes Club and stuff like that, it's like if you buy a certain NFT, you put it, as your avatar on Discord or whatever, then you could get
you get bragging rights. Hey, I own the crypto.
Yeah, exactly. and you get access to certain memberships, this and that. So I think it's kind of a flex for some people, and I think if you market it that way, if you market it as a flex, you could entice some people to buy it. But you got to create a good selling point, I think.
And so when we look at the long-term value of NFTs, what is it for you? Do you think that NFT will play a key role in the real life?
I'm probably not the best person to ask because I don't really see much value in NFTs. I'm sorry.
No, we are all subject to our own opinions.
It's probably an unpopular opinion, but that's just me because I've never seen any reason to flex. I'm not a flex kind of guy, so I don't need to tell the whole world I have this wonderful NFT. Yeah, I'm more of a real world kind of guy, I guess, in that respect.
Exactly. And you've been in the game long enough. So if you were to give an advice to investors like me, for example, how can I spot a good token to invest in? Do you have any advice for that?
I think you need to look at what the project is going to do. I mean, blockchain, when it first came out, there were a lot of hoo-has as to how it's going to change the world, make our life better. But honestly, I haven't really seen it yet. All the pain points that I think blockchain can solve, no one is really solving it. Like, for example, you try to open a bank account. You have to give, the bank all these KYC documents. I think if blockchain is around, you can use it to solve it. I mean, I should be able to, with a click of a button, just give you all my ID documents, secured and verified by blockchain.
It's like a digital identity on Web3.
Exactly. Or if you travel, you like traveling, you travel a lot, you still have to present your physical passport and all that. There's got to be a better way to do it. And also, if you go to the hospital, okay, your medical records could be with another hospital, and then they need to call each other and whatever to find out your background information, your medical records,
can take days.
what you're allergic to, your allergies, what kind of drugs works best on you. All that could be done on the blockchain, but no one's doing it. I mean, I have seen some projects where they tried, but not very successful. So I think these are the projects that if people do it, it will really make our lives easier and more seamless going forward. But I just haven't seen it yet.
And so, okay, what are some of the telling cryptocurrency trends that you have observed in the space?
I think DeFi has really taken off in the past 2 years until, of course, until UST and Terra kind of killed the market. I think they had a product that was very appealing. Okay, because interest rates were really low. I mean, I know the Fed is starting to raise rates now, but they have been low for more than 10 years, really, really low. So when you have all these platforms that started advertising, okay, you deposit your USDC, USDT, or whatever else you have on our platform, and we give you double-digit interest. It's really appealing, right? Because you can really arbitrage. You can just borrow at 2%, and then you stake on these platforms. You're getting more than 10%.
Yeah,
it's a huge arbitrage. So a lot of people were caught up in that process. But I think you need to consider whether these kind of yields are sustainable. And as we saw with Terra, it's not really. It's more like a Ponzi. Their platform weren't really making enough money to pay out all these yields. So I think as an investor, when you invest in this, cryptocurrencies or this staking, you have to consider whether the platform itself is sustainable, what kind of revenues are they making, and how are they funding, these very attractive yields.
Incredible insights. And so when we look at the community in Singapore, the blockchain community that you have here, what is like the DNA? Are most Singaporeans into crypto trading and selling? How would you describe?
I think a lot of young people are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the young people are really into this space. A lot of them.
What got them hooked? Is it because of the play to earn? Is it because of NFTs? Like what was it?
You know what young people are like. I think they just think it's cool. When it's cool, you do it. A lot of young people have actually moved on from stock trading to trading crypto. Trade crypto as well as NFTs as well. But when you talk to them, right, you kind of get the sense that it's really a short-term win kind of thing that they're going for. It's like a lottery for a lot of them, because you just have to invest in the right project, and then hopefully you make some life-changing money out there. I guess it's a gamble. I wouldn't say a gamble. I say more lottery than gamble, because gamble you have maybe 50-50 or close to 50-50 chance of winning. Whereas a lottery, it's like, I guess 99% maybe higher chance you lose, but there is a very slim chance that perhaps the project you back could really, shoot for the moon and make you some life-changing money.
Fantastic. And when it comes to volume of startups that are setting up shop here in Singapore, have you identified like many of them like starting their own blockchain project here, or are most of the projects like moving away from Singapore? Like, what is it like here?
It really depends on what you're doing. Mm-hmm. In Singapore, we have legislation put in place, I think it was last year, Payment Services Act. So that regulated a lot of activities that people used to do, like the crypto exchanges. So now if you want to help people buy, sell tokens, via an exchange, you need to get a license. The licensing process, unfortunately, is quite long. You need to spend a lot of time applying for a license, and then a lot of time dealing with the regulator, and then hopefully at the end of all that, you get a license. But the process from start to finish, easily more than a year. Okay, it can even easily more than a year. So it's a very, very long time. So I believe for projects, companies that want to do something that is regulated in Singapore, they may want to think twice. Okay. I mean, guys like Binance and all that, they've gone to Dubai where it's a bit faster, and there are those. I know a couple as well who just said, let's not deal with all that. It's just too hard. We'll go somewhere else. We go to an obscure country, and then we just do it from there, and nobody knows us. So that's what certain people are doing. But of course, I think if you take the trouble and get licensed, I believe that does have some value, and that could help you attract customers. But that's a decision for every project and the founders to make, whether the effort is ultimately worth it in the end. I mean, bear in mind, Singapore is a small market. In terms of people who trade crypto, people who actually hold tokens, even if everyone in Singapore buys and trades and holds tokens, it's still a small market because we don't have that many people here. It's just a fact of life. So many times you're really attracting a global audience. So where you're based, I don't really blame the founders to base their operations in a country where there are less hoops to go through if their audience is really global and no focus on any particular country. So why not go for a jurisdiction that makes your life easier? But certainly, that's for the regulated space. So, and for the areas where we haven't regulated yet, it means that you can still do it, subject to prevailing laws. That probably every country would be in the same situation. You still see a lot of that. They come in, they set up a company here, then they do certain things that are unregulated. I mean, that's still fine, and we still see them coming in and doing that.
And lastly, I want to get your impressions on our project, Oz Living. How do you see this as an ideal investment for people who are in the space?
I think Oz project stands out to me in that it has a value proposition. Like if you look at a lot of tokens out there, like Dogecoin, for example, what can you do with that token? I think that's the thing, right? When people say, look, my token is a utility token, right? Well, what is the utility? And you ask them, it's like, ooh, you can use it to, I don't know, buy certain services from me in the future. It's like what are those services? You don't know, It's just like, what services? But Oz is different. Oz, I believe, right? I believe that's how your project works. If you buy Oz tokens and you stake those tokens, that gives you the right to reside, work, and do business in an area of the Philippines called the Bataan, which I understand is a very awesome place.
Yes.
I haven't visited yet, but I would love to.
I shall take you there tomorrow.
Thank you. I'll pack my bags. So I think that has value. I mean, there are a lot of people who wants to move out of their country for whatever reasons, right? I don't know. Maybe the guys in Ukraine want to do that, but I think it's useful for those people who need a second home in another country. They can make use of these tokens, this project, to give them a right to reside somewhere else, should they want to.
Well, Alfred, this has been so insightful. Thank you so much for meeting with me and for speaking with me. Let's do this again. It's been very fun.
Definitely, it's been lovely. Thank you.